Hi, welcome to the quiz. You can answer along on quizalto.com, all for free. The exact URL of this quiz will be in the notes down below. Let's get started, good luck. Which AWS cost and usage report field indicates if a resource is part of a free trial? Line item/line item type. Bill/trial period. Product/free trial. Line item/free trial end date. If a resource is part of a free trial, the line item/free trial end date field will show when the trial ends, helping you plan for when charges will begin. What does the line item/unblended cost field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? The post-tax cost for the line item. The pre-tax cost for the line item. The discounted cost for the line item. The list price for the line item. The line item/unblended cost field shows the actual pre-tax cost for a specific line item, reflecting any discounts, reservations, or savings plans applied. What does the product/tenancy field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? The AWS account that owns the resource. The region that hosts the resource. The hosting model of the resource. The service level of the resource. For some resources like EC2, the product/tenancy field shows the hosting model, such as shared, dedicated, or host, which affects pricing. What does the reservation/total reserve normalized units field in the AWS cost and usage report show? The total cost of the reserved instance. The total time left in the reservation. The total regions covered by the reservation. The total standard units in a reserved instance. The reservation/total reserve normalized units field shows the total number of standard units in a reserved instance, indicating its size. What does the line item/public on-demand rate field in the AWS cost and usage report indicate? The private on-demand rate for the resource. The reserved rate for the resource. The spot rate for the resource. The public on-demand rate for the resource. The line item/public on-demand rate field shows the standard on-demand rate for a resource, regardless of any discounts or commitments you have. Which AWS cost and usage report field shows if a resource is a spot instance? Line item/line item type. Product/instance family. Product/instance type. Line item/operation. The line item/line item type field will show spot if the resource is a spot instance, helping you identify where you're using this cost-saving pricing model. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report indicates if a resource is part of a savings plan? Savings plan/savings plan ARN. Discount/discount ARN. Credit/credit ARN. Reservation/reservation ARN. The savings plan/savings plan ARN field, when present, indicates that a resource is covered by a specific savings plan, identified by its Amazon resource name. What does the bill/billing period end date field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? The end date of the resource's usage. The end date of the current billing period. The end date of a reservation. The end date of a free trial. The bill/billing period end date field shows when the current billing period ends, helping you understand the time frame each cost and usage report covers. How often can you configure the AWS cost and usage report to be updated? hourly, daily, or monthly. Bi-weekly, monthly, or quarterly. Weekly, monthly, or yearly. Every 5 minutes, hourly, or daily. The AWS cost and usage report can be configured to update hourly for the most granular data, daily for regular updates, or monthly for a high-level overview. What does the line item/normalized usage amount field in the AWS cost and usage report indicate? Resource usage converted to a standard unit. The discounted amount of resource used. The actual amount of resource used. The billable amount of resource used. The line item/normalized usage amount field shows resource usage converted to a standard unit for easier comparison across instance types. What does the product/location field in the AWS cost and usage report indicate? The AWS region of the service. The edge location of the resource. The physical location of the AWS data center. The availability zone of the resource. The product/location field shows the physical location of the AWS data center, which can be important for data residency and compliance. Which AWS cost and usage report field indicates if a discount was applied to a line item? Discount/discount ARN. Bill/discount amount. Product/discount eligibility. Line item/discounted rate. The discount/discount ARN field, when present, indicates that a specific discount has been applied to the line item, identified by its Amazon resource name. What does the bill/bill reference number field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? A unique identifier for the bill. The invoice number. The order number. The transaction ID. The bill/bill reference number field provides a unique identifier for each bill, making it easier to reference or query specific bills over time. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report shows the AWS organization that incurred the cost? Bill/payer account ID. Bill/bill type. Bill/invoice ID. Bill/billing period start date. The bill/payer account ID field indicates the AWS account ID of the payer account in an AWS organization, helping to track costs across the entire organization. Which AWS service can you use to query your AWS cost and usage report data? Amazon Athena. Amazon RDS. Amazon Elastic. Amazon Redshift. Amazon Athena is a serverless query service that can directly query your AWS cost and usage report data in S3 using standard SQL, making it easy to analyze costs. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report shows the purchase term for a reserved instance? Reservation/modification status. Reservation/subscription ID. Reservation/number of reservations. Reservation/normalized units per reservation. The reservation/modification status field can indicate the purchase term for a reserved instance, such as no modification for a standard term or specific changes if modified. What does the line item/availability zone field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? The data center hosting the resource. The region of the resource. The edge location serving the resource. The specific availability zone of the resource. The line item / availability zone field shows the exact availability zone where a resource is located, useful for tracking high availability setups. What does the line item / usage amount field in the AWS cost and usage report represent? The savings compared to on-demand pricing. The cost in the account's currency. The cost in USD. The quantity of resources consumed. The line item / usage amount field shows the actual quantity of a resource consumed, like GB for storage or hours for compute, helping to understand resource utilization. What does the bill / billing entity field in the AWS cost and usage report indicate? The AWS account that was billed. Whether the charges are from AWS or a third-party marketplace. The currency of the bill. The payment method used. The bill / billing entity field shows whether charges are from AWS directly or from a third party in AWS marketplace, helping track the source of costs. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report indicates the invoice that a charge belongs to? Bill / bill reference number. Line item / invoice reference. Bill / invoice ID. Line item / invoice number. The bill / invoice ID field in the AWS cost and usage report shows which invoice a particular charge belongs to, helping to reconcile charges with specific invoices. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report indicates if a service is in public preview. Line item / service status. Product / preview location. Line item / public preview. Product / public beta. In some cases, the product / preview location field may indicate if a service is in public preview in a specific region, which can affect pricing or availability. What does the discount / discount applied count field in the AWS cost and usage report indicate? The number of eligible resources for the discount. The number of times a discount was applied. The percentage of discount applied. The total amount of discount. The discount / discount applied count field shows how many times a particular discount was applied, useful for tracking widespread or repeating discounts. What does the line item / line item description field in the AWS cost and usage report provide? A human-readable description of the line item. The ID of the line item. The SKU of the line item. The operation performed on the resource. The line item / line item description field offers a human-readable description of each line item, making it easier to understand what the charge is for without needing to interpret codes. Which field in the AWS cost and usage report shows the start time of a billing period? Line item / billing start. Line item / usage start date. Bill / billing period start date. Bill / start time. The bill / billing period start date field indicates when the current billing period began, helping you align costs with specific time frames. What does the bill / payment due date field in the AWS cost and usage report show? The date when the bill was generated. The date when the bill was last updated. The date by which the bill must be paid. The date when the bill was last paid. The bill / payment due date field indicates the deadline by which your AWS bill must be paid, helping you manage cash flow and avoid late fees. And that's a wrap. Thanks to everyone who participated. Remember, you can answer along on quizalto.com, where you can keep track of your progress and find much more quizzes. We hope you had a fun and challenging time. Until next time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more. Hit the bell icon to be notified as soon as we upload. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts or suggestions, and if you think this video is worth sharing with someone who could benefit from it, please forward a link to them. See you next time. Thanks for watching.